next item is public comment period 1. No public comment. All right, we're going to get an update on the Bash project from the architects and follow up by an update of some, what? Approve the minutes of the public meeting of September 17th.
I'll see her, so moved.
Second, we have any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, our update for tonight is going to be provided by Jay Clough from KCBA and Arif and Brazil and John Hartman from Dewey Engineering, talking about the progress we're making on the Boyertown Senior High project. So, Jay?
Thank you, David. And this is Ryan Orr, who's going to be my hands tonight running. I think what we'll do, would you go to the last, we got these kind of reversed, a hastily assembled PowerPoint. The last slide in the in your packet is the site plan. I'm going to have Ryan try to switch to the live model and see if we can't zoom in on this a little bit more. Basically, we've had quite a time since we were here last. I guess it's been about 3 weeks, and there's an awful lot of stuff to try to catch up to speed with. Stop there, that's a good one. The goal, get the academies to work, get a project for $55 million, try to be more prudent with how the dollars are spent, maximize classrooms. Can we free up classrooms by maybe taking out those smaller functions that need to be in them? All things that were kind of discussed by different committees before we got on board, and so we took the time to digest that. Our goal in this is to reuse the 1919/1938 building. It has a lot of history and has a lot of potential, and using it for a 9th grade academy seemed like a pretty good idea, and we'll talk about that. The busing has been and continues to be a major issue, and you'll see here there's parking here, there's kind of a building intrudes, there's parking here, there's a drop-off, there's parking. That whole front of the building is just sort of a mishmash of stuff going on. So one of the things we thought we would start with, and it's appropriate to start with the site, would be what it would take, and Ryan, you were able to get to that? And again, Ryan only got about 10 minutes notice, so we're a little rough about this. I apologize in advance, but he's a good guy. What we want to do with that is go to the one where we put the buses across the front.
You don't have that as a...
So we don't have that. All right, we're going to go to the solid PowerPoint. So what we said was, if we take all that craziness and all that stuff that's there, and actually put more green in front of the building, pull those parking spaces all to the same side, put 3 rows of buses in, and we have to rework this corner, of course, and come in from on Monroe Street and come in and put everybody across the front, put a central front door that everyone can easily find, and load those buses from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, maybe 6 round back, so that everything's in the same spot. Rather than have them reverse their course and go back out into the borough, we would be looking, if you slide it, hopefully it slides, Ryan, we would extend, and this again, the geometries are premature, so don't be too hung up on the actual details. The problem with 3-dimensional modeling is it makes things maybe further thought out than they are. But the idea is, and this is these are areas that were brought forth from the previous project, taking taking Monroe Street and carrying it through to Montgomery Avenue, which would give us, and this would be in contemplating now, we have to have meetings with the borough and with Colebrookdale Township, but our initial thoughts are a driveway controlled by the school district, because it does go through athletic fields, which we could gate. It would be 2 ways, and we could control as a school district how it gets used. We'll see if the borough and the Boyertown feel comfortable with that, but I believe they would, as long as there's some common ground on how that might happen. So what we're trying to do, well, the other scheme had a significant amount of site work over here on the back side of the building. We're feeling comfortable that we could probably leave that untouched, that we could do our work on this site mostly in the building, with, as you'll see later, about 21,000 square feet of additions, which is actually fairly minimal. There were 130, what was it, 130,000 square feet of additions before. To be fair, we are using about 76,000 square feet of the existing building. But having said all that, that building has worked. So by using this building and putting some minor additions around the existing one, we think we can leave the back alone, save that site cost, clean up the buses in front, probably work out a system where drop-offs get routed around the corner somehow. We're still working through these ideas. We'll be talking to some people about that, so that we get the drop-offs and the parents maybe on one side and the buses on the other, and use the Montgomery Avenue connection as on Monroe Street as a real good safety valve. So again, it is not a design. The whole purpose here is between now and November 12th to have a scope and to have a cost. Then we can get together with all the committees in detail and begin really designing this stuff. What are the geometries? How does this work? What did we overlook? And it's been a real whirlwind to do this in the 3 weeks we've had. If we go then, I think all the way back to your handout, Ryan, we'll go to that 9th grade center, which I know is in there. Go back to your first page. It's kind of nice when you're introducing 9th graders into a big building to have an ease-in kind of point. The 1938 building is kind of ideal. It's kind of by itself, but it's certainly part of this complex. It gives us a chance to put those 9th graders into kind of their own domain, and yet they can go on down in here for things like the lunches and the specialties and some of the extra special things that they can't take place in now when they're off at this campus. So we start with the first floor. What we tried to do is capture as many classrooms as possible. I believe, and I'm doing this from memory, I apologize, about 28. It's enough to house the 9th graders in this facility. We would maintain, the building right now has a district IT down in this area, has some district reproduction stuff in this area, and we would be maintaining that. We would maintain the auditorium. It's kind of a nice space. We would see how much money is available to renovate it lightly. It could stand some finishes, but it's actually a very nice space. Toilet rooms, as you're going to find in most of these cases, don't work particularly well in this old building in terms of meeting all the codes. It's actually easier, rather than maintain them in their kind of remote locations, to put a set, and you'll see in each of these, this is the first floor, they are stacked one above the other. They'll be ideally set up in terms of ADA. They'll be ideally and economically set up because stacking plumbing is economical, and we make up for that classroom by classrooms used elsewhere. We talked about a teacher center, and again, those are just rough, sketchy thoughts that have to be worked out, but a teacher planning center where the possibility of using a classroom, that the classroom is not necessarily assigned to the teacher. The classroom is used more periods that way. Well, if you do that, that's great, use the classrooms a lot. The teacher needs a spot to call home, or at least needs a spot some periods a day. Something like that at the beginnings, and again, that has to get really vetted through all the committees, but we're trying to hang on to some real estate and actually leave the, assign some money values to it. If we go to the next floor, it kind of repeats itself. What doesn't work up here so well is the gym. We needed more classrooms, and some of the new teaching is volume spaces are pretty good. So to do some of the new sciences and some of the technologies, we can use the gym that's there for those. We can use special small groups. Again, you'll see this theme of littler rooms to pull students out, do special curriculum. Here's an opportunity for 3 of those, or maybe there's 6, I forget here, but the opportunity in the abstract to put a band of rooms, to take these spaces in the gym and put them in a high space. Now, we didn't do this deliberately because we have any bias against gyms, but one of the other academies that was originally proposed had these functions more together, and it makes kind of sense to do that, and we needed more classrooms up in the 1938 building, and this kind of gives us that chance, and this could be a real nice opportunity to do something different. These are high volume spaces, and we can do that. The auditorium, as you see, we go to the 3rd floor. There's a kind of a large group space that was once upon a time, I guess it served many things. It was the library. I think it's now our ROTC. As in the previous scheme that was proposed a while back, ROTC is being relocated more into the body of the building so that we can keep this totally for 9th grade. So not a design, but a concept that kind of gets us going, works well. We now have to pick up the functions that are in there. They had ROTC in that building, they had art in that building. And there are some miscellaneous classrooms in that building being used. We will see what to do with that. Brian, what's next down there?
Jay, could you tell them that courtyard
Oh,
is there, because that's what actually comes up next.
okay, well,
It's
no,
not
we,
part of it, that's a.
no, that
future.
courtyard shouldn't be in there.
It's a future.
Right. We looked at some things, you know, could we recapture some courtyard space? We don't need it, the budget won't allow it, and it was a fun idea. It's still in here. This is, what you're getting is like a work in progress. That's what you're seeing there. We had talked about enclosing the courtyard, fixing the courtyard. I don't think we're gonna do a lot in that courtyard. It probably needs to be cleaned up a lot. I mean, it would be nice, but right now, we're working hard on that $55 million budget. So we're pouring out ideas, we're vetting ideas, some are staying, some are not staying, and this is kind of like froze it today, boom. So that's what's going on. Okay. Yeah, down on the other end, okay. Can you turn on the art wing, I think would be next. Yeah, that's it. What happened to the rooms? Is that the next one? Yes, it is, okay. So, art was in that building, I know it well, actually I helped put it there years ago, so I'm starting to feel my age, it's time to relocate. The idea behind this academy has always been a fine arts academy, so okay, this is a nice opportunity. And this is a very economical spot because the corridor exists already. So all we gotta do is add the classrooms. So again, don't worry about the geometries, we have to sit with all the teachers and the committees and all the people in the schools to figure out how to design them and what they might look like. But we have enough space. Remember, when we redid the parking lot out front, we pulled out of that loop that was here. One of our assignments that was very deliberate was they got too many front doors, too many places that confuse people. We deliberately removed this one by choice, because only down in this model, ever so slightly down in the corner here, you can see the front doors that go, oh, there you go. It goes right into the lobby. So this was kind of almost redundant. So we're going to take the art and put it around the corner. So we've taken care of art. Ninth graders will participate in that. Putting the art here is, if you back out of the plan a little bit or look at the bigger picture, which we'll do later, I guess. It's fairly near the center of the campus. It puts its kind of, the idea of if as many universal functions as you can, if you put them near the middle, we're better off. Then we want to talk a bit, I think, what's the next one in here? I'm working on it. Yeah, the gym. All right. In the back corner, our goal is to stay within the sidewalk parameters of the building because that's a lot less site work and it makes it compact. We have ninth graders coming, and we got a surprise coming for what we'd like to do with the Cub gym. So in this area, we placed a 2-station gym so that we would have enough stations for ninth grade and enough stations to repurpose the Cub gym into the actual music wing. The fitness room will be enlarged because again, we're getting more population on campus, and that's a growing need anyway. The idea would be most of the parking on this site is down here. Make an athletic entrance, so we will encourage people. I realize there's a loading dock issue to be resolved on the stage. We could probably reinforce the sidewalk, expand it here, and do something tastefully that'll get us access to a stage. All to be worked out. The idea is we now have two major gymnasiums right off the parking lot with a major entrance to be solely used for them. And this academy sort of hangs together with all the health stuff that we were seeking to do before. I believe we're in the music. Yes, the next thing, we're going to go back. An opportunity exists now to put music near the center. We looked at it behind the stage, and that has possibilities, but the problem with putting it behind the stage is it starts to intrude on the parking. And for those people that are not involved in the productions, for the day-to-day use of music, it's kind of far away, especially like a ninth grader go around the back. So again, we are proposing at this point, repurposing the gym. Again, ignore the layouts. What we have to do is just pour sand in a bag and make sure there's enough stuff that it will fit in there. And the layout, I'm sure, will change 15 times on this thing. But at least we know that in that space, we can put a really neat music department. Again, music spaces require volume. You know, you need an extra height. And of course, the gym has higher ceilings in it. So that gives it, and it actually turns out to be cheaper than, we've got some pricing from Dewey. Saves about $200,000 from placing it behind in a more remote location. So it's a win-win. Needs to be designed. I think we also in that thing want to try to pull a corridor through, Ryan. That should be the next, if you, there you go. We are sensing the need in this thing to get circulation resolved a little bit more. And it is possible, now that those locker rooms are not needed for this space, to repurpose these. We had lots of discussions about what that might be. Maybe some more small groups, maybe some other things that relate to athletics, but we'll get to it. The purpose here is, if you back out of the picture a little bit, it's really to make this circulation cleaner, so that the, oops, here we go. So there's less travel distance, and I think we can get away with that because some of that storage, some of those locker rooms aren't needed. We will be working in these locker rooms. They're very inefficient, we're told, and we believe that, and we think we can recoup by doing some work in here enough to make up for that. If we have to bleed back, we will, but I think ultimately this puts these locker rooms kind of where you want them, where all the gyms are, and right where you can access directly out to the field, so we're going to be pretty comfortable that that can happen. So again, concept, hey, having these small individual rooms, every time you see one of those, you free up a classroom someplace for a lot of people. And hey, why look at locker rooms, look at a courtyard, let's actually look at something that's kind of fun to look at. Not really for the aesthetics, but you get both. Hey, that's a win. It's really done educationally to try to maximize each dollar we can spend. By the way, we're not building anything there. That's all in the building. The more we can use the building you have, the less money it costs, and hopefully the better it'll function for us. So that kind of gets us music. It kind of gets us art. It kind of gets us through the physical part. You got to feed everybody. We got more people showing. Got more bodies that are hungry. And what we're going to do, the original scheme that we inherited proposed filling in the courtyard. We really don't like to fill in courtyards. It's expensive and the daylight disappears, and I think there's better options to do. So what we're promoting here, and Ryan, you can put that toggle that on, is there was a faculty dining room, which we can repurpose in a minute. We'll find another spot for that. And some other miscellaneous stuff down here. We would envision putting some doors in here, and boy, we would have used it today, wouldn't we? On days like today, there'd be the opportunity to use that for dining. I've done that in a lot of our schools. It's usually pretty popular. And it lets light in. And this should be adequate space. We did the math. Want to get a scatter serve, so the students get a good thing. We want to get the seating layout to work, but we should have enough square foot within there to do that. And actually, all we're really doing is the heavy work, the heavy gutting is only there. This is just kind of superficial what we're going to do in that area. Again, the idea is to touch as little of the building as possible, repurpose what's there, reassign what's there, make things happen. A couple little things that came up code-wise that are kind of interesting. Again, we're tasked with getting rid of door opening. There's a lobby here now that really is distracting or confusing. There's the stairway that's here, I guess it's that, one of those, down there, actually enters into a courtyard. Actually, I think this one doesn't even go into a courtyard. Those stairs, and I don't know how they got this far, they should really exit to the outside. In a fire, going into a courtyard is a no-no. You can imagine, it's not safe. So we are putting a new stair, not because we're so gung-ho on stairs, but only to get us outdoors here. The whole concept behind this is the cafeteria kind of stays in place. The service continues to be served as I think the loading dock's over here. The former scheme buried the loading dock and kind of spoiled that. This is to keep all that functioning the way it is. We'll upgrade, there's money in the budget to upgrade kitchen equipment and serving area, not a lot, because you shouldn't need a ton, but it's been not overlooked, hopefully. All right, what's next in our show and tell? Okay, we'll go to the administration. The idea is a major front door that cuts through the building. The building, by and large, is a giant H shape. And the idea is a secure vestibule that somebody is in the vestibule, they can't get out of the vestibule until they're buzzed on in, or they have to pass through the office. We're still working on the amount of administration. We had the idea of some small groups. It looks like because we shrank it too much, we may need to inherit those back into administration. But the administrators at the front door and a clearly defined sidewalk with visitor spaces on the opposite side of the buses wouldn't be there normally, across the way, so that there should be no doubt anymore you're not going to wind your way around by the 9th grade center and try to get your way into the bottom of this banana wing, we call it. You'll come right into the middle. And when you get there, you'll be almost in the dead center of the school. You cannot access without some sort of a being buzzed in, so it's secure. A lot of work in all these areas. There's enough real estate. Actually, we found out today there wasn't. That's where we're going to grab some of these. But we can kind of make that happen. Going down, toilet rooms. You really need decent toilet rooms for the cafeteria. I think there might have been some little guys in here. We put some major toilet rooms right off the cafeteria. This corridor, if we slide down a little bit then, Ryan, okay, give me the, that's still on the same. It should be you should be able to click on the toggle for the, okay. The entrepreneurial wing was here before, we think it's actually a good spot for it. These shapes are kind of an interesting room. And basically, first of all, we got the faculty dining and got some windows on the outside, and they're right across from the cafeteria, so that's one thing we want to do. The balance of this meets the rough-in estimation of space needed for the Entrepreneurial Academy. Have some really fun ideas of some small group rooms. Again, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, still in the early stages. Actually, learning spaces in the corridors that lead up to them, where you can pull people out. We've done this in both higher education and some of our more sophisticated STEM programs that we run. A lot of fun, I think, when we start talking to committees about how to, what might go into that and how that might work. That, of course, is made available because the administration bumped over to the front of the building. And ROTC, this is, I think, a remnant of the other one as well, goes in the former music area. So we've got everybody kind of where they need to behave and belong. And beyond that, let's switch again. Science, there's one area, okay, yeah, take a peek, wait, run that again, go back there. We have to show off a little. Again, not a design, but we try to make sure that these kind of things can happen and how this gets parceled out. But the idea is not business as usual, something different. Teaching in a corridor, why not? It's a really good opportunity. Pull-outs, why not? These could be used by all kinds of groups. So again, every time somebody's in these groups of 8, 10 people, they're freeing up classrooms. So, all right, now we'll go back to the other. I guess science is next.
This slide is not fully accurate.
No, the slide's out of date. You gotta stay. You gotta be ready. I mean, if you're an hour away, you're an hour behind because you guys gave us a really tough deadline. We are going to be adding chemistry labs. The STEM program, the science program, they gotta have chemistry labs. Actually, today everybody will do a hurrah. We found a more economical way to do it than this. We don't have to relocate as many walls. The idea is there currently is one, I think it's that one, am I right? Dr. Cooper, we have oops.
There you go.
One chemistry lab exists, and all these other guys, not so good. So, that's not fair. They work pretty well, but they don't teach chemistry well. So the thought is, and this again, multi-use of space. Chemistry is the most intense use of a space. If you can teach chemistry in a space, you can teach the other sciences. So, we are going to take, and merely within the walls that we have, it says about biology, but we're just joking. There'll be 4 chemistry labs, 1, 2, 3, 4, that we will be able to outfit, and we will be able to use the classrooms that were between them for a lecture, kind of college style. Again, it's toggling back and forth. Toggle back real quick, if you would. You can. This one is really a classroom. It is now, and it will be. And this one is really a classroom now. So with that classroom and this classroom and these 1, 2, 3, 4 chemistries, you can almost do it like college, where you can lecture in a classroom and then schedule a chem lab. And you can schedule those, again, our ideas with the academies is somehow Dr. Cooper and the committees are going to work magic. We're going to find out how to get more assignments out of those rooms, and that's our goal. The goal on this thing, before, I think science was being replicated in several areas of the building. We just cannot afford that. I don't think we need to. Well, we don't after talking to everybody. So, there's one other small, is it or not? I guess, yeah, there's a couple little things again. These are really tentative at this point. The idea is not to touch too much of the building. Ryan, it's that, it's the overall scheme there. Can you take a peek? He's doing pretty good considering he only saw this about 20 minutes ago. Good guy. All right, I'm just going to get that view here because I'm going to concentrate for sure. Almost done. Not that one. We've got that axed. And there, oops, go back. It's the other one. What we're trying to do, and again, we're not sure we're going to be able to get the real estate. We would like to get some of these planning centers near the middle of the building so we can have teachers that are in classrooms have another spot. It should be more than a traditional planning center as we know it today because we're going to be trying to reassign classrooms. Very early thought. That would mean to us, the reason it's on there, it means to us some money to change some stuff. What we're trying to do between now and November 15th, how much stuff needs to be changed, and ballpark, what's it going to cost? After that, we get together, everybody, and we really design it and have some fun. Beyond that, there would be one of these, kind of in this area if we can do it, that's the center of the classrooms. We would have the other academies over in the corner as the STEM, and we would have to reassign the classrooms to work with the academies more than literally having them as they were right with the academies. Our idea is the building is well kept, it's in good shape. We would spend most of the money beyond this point in the mechanical systems that need to be upgraded to save you energy. So that's where we're going next. But in terms of the actual work in the building, 21,000 square feet of additions, which basically is the gym on the end and the art wing. Beyond that, everything takes place within the building because, again, we have to do that, and that's a good thing. Why not? It works. And we are using the we're using the beautiful old building. It does take work, but it is cheaper than starting over, and it has an historical value to the community. Both are really valid. I really like the idea that it's kind of semi-remote. I think that's really cool for ninth grade. It's kind of like the best of both worlds. What's next? Is it just another big overall view, I think, right? That's it, okay. So, yeah, okay, thank you. That's kind of what we've been doing in the last 3 weeks. Dewey is going to give you an update. It's kind of early for them to price it, but the idea, a couple other things. Working with the civil engineer, trying to get some coordination with the township and borough to see if they think this is a good idea. We want you guys to see it first, see what they think about these site things that are being talked about here. Getting together, still taking a peek, lead, no lead. I don't know what's going with that. Does it cost more than it's worth? It does. I disagree with the other architects. It does cost something. If you're renovating, it costs something. If you're doing a new building, maybe not so much. But LEED starts to force you in a renovated building to do some things that maybe you're not such an anxious to do or not necessary to do. We will give you a sustainable building. We'll give you a building that's economic. Paul won't let me out of that. I mean, he's merciless, that guy, okay? He wants to save money. Good for him, and I agree. But he doesn't necessarily have to have a plaque on the front door. I have a LEED. This guy is, they accredit you in the United States, and I know they're in the thousands now. His accreditation number is 2. Okay, so he's going to give me the straight scoop on this, yes, no, and if he tells me what we got to do and we can't do it, I can tell you with all sincerity it can't be done. He's proactively wants sustainability. If we can't do it LEED, we're going to do it sustainable, and we'll list those. We'll tell you what we're doing and what we expect to have happen. Don't know. That's still in the works. Again, this stuff is really, stay tuned. It's really, we're flying at this stuff. It's a breakneck speed. I know some of you were on the committee. We canceled the meeting. It wasn't to hide. We found out that we actually had a lot of the information that I was going to try to get from you guys. We found it, and we're using it. That committee will still be around, and we're going to get together. Matter of fact, we are definitely together next Wednesday, and we'll Tuesday. I know that. Tuesday. Tuesday. I don't want anybody to think that we're trying to do the old shuffle. We didn't. I called the meeting off because I was overwhelmed with the amount of information we had. We needed to digest it. There's plenty of opportunity in the future to design those portions that we talked about. And the committee has a bigger assignment now, I think. That's just me. If you want an academy concept, but the classrooms are kind of together, how does that work? What does it look like? How do you make that happen? And that'll be kind of fun. And Dr. Cooper will lead that, and the educators will get together on that. So there's a valid place for that. We're not hiding from you. If this thing is vetted by the board on November 12th, we've got like another 10 months to try to get it all put together, and we can get into the details with everybody. Questions by the board first?
The busing, are you going to change Monroe and make it one way in, or this way?
We probably would be looking at it for bus runs to be one way in for the buses and just get them back out onto Montgomery, but we're going to be talking to everybody about that. That was the thought. We think Montgomery would be a two-way road, and we were okay to use a two-way, but during those times when, with permission from Holbrookdale Township, we can control the flow. Our thoughts were at dismissal, it would be good to send them back out there. We got to fix this. This, as your bus driver, that ain't going to work, right? We know that. We're grabbing segments. We have the opportunity to swing back and go back out. I think it's just a little bit overwhelming. We're gonna pick up a couple more buses because of the guys.
So
So
you're gonna pick up 600 students on buses.
you do, but the buses aren't running full, so they gave us the number. It's not inconsequential, it's about 54 buses out here. And again, it's working. I think what we want to price at this point is knowing that we want to redo all that. All those little yin-yangs around the building don't really work that well. We get the same amount of parking and we can get better flow. We do need more work to go straighten out all the buses.
But you're now planning to send all the buses out to Montgomery.
I have to still talk with, we have the option, if we choose not to split them, there's lots of options. Once we fix this curve, fix this intersection, the opportunity exists to go both ways. We're not presupposing anything, we need to have some discussions. We were told that it would be ideal to at least own the driveway and control the flows on it.
Yeah, because you're gonna dismiss secondary first. And if you get into a mess there with a traffic jam, you still got elementary to go to. You know, so you gotta watch it, you don't get tied up there with all them buses, or your elementary's gonna suffer.
But no, absolutely. Busing on any school project is critical. And again, we don't presuppose to have all the answers at this point. We just know that we would like to put the buses on this side of the building. We would like to get a long place to load them. And we still have options on how to get them on and off site as we have before. That's really the big picture.
I have another question.
Sure.
Your tutoring centers, where are they, where is that in here?
Well, you call them tutoring centers, we're calling them small group instruction. Right now, we were scanning, there were a bunch of them down in this corner in that entrepreneurial. We were showing some up by the front door, and I think we were trying to carve up a couple down in the main body of the building, so.
Thank you.
We were also looking, actually, this would be nice if we could save a few right along that courtyard. That's kind of, oops.
I'm gonna just go back over
Okay, there you go. Go back to the courtyard side. And there we come. Oops, still missed it. No, I want to go to the,
Here we go.
yeah, it's them, pump the corridor. Those make wonderful opportunities. You see where they're located. If you actually do a center of gravity, this is pretty close to the center. They're kind of up in neutral ground, different academies, different groups. We're more flexible than even calling it a tutoring center. That's too restrictive. It's an opportunity, an opportunity to take smaller groups of students and have discussions and lessons and tutoring and this, that, and the other thing is being actively explored. And there's two reasons for it. One, it's just a nicer way to teach, but secondly, it frees up classrooms. Every time you can free up a classroom and use it a couple more periods a day, you save a lot of money. So we're tasked with that, we get it. We're working our hearts out to make that happen. I don't have all the answers tonight. It's been, I think I'm right, I think it's only been 3 weeks, hasn't it?
Yes.
Feels like it's been a day, just this endless day.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Steve?
I think
No, go ahead.
Ruth was next. Well, yeah, I guess I have a few questions. First off, thank you. It is refreshing to hear a new perspective, so I appreciate the hard work and all.
It's an exciting project, it's
And,
very hard.
Knowing this is what you do for a living, I'm sure you can handle it.
I'm hopeful.
So a couple questions. Early on, you went through some, I'll call it objectives, 55 million,
Yep.
utilization of space. I'm just curious, do we have something written down for everyone on the project that says, here's some objectives that we're trying to achieve?
Dr. Cooper started with that, he put it on the board, and we memorialized it in minutes from the leader, not the leadership, what is that team called?
Project team.
The
And then the design team.
The design team. He put it on the board, we copied it, and there were 4 of them, and I forgot.
Collaborative space utilization, enhanced campus safety, moving the ninth graders
grade academy.
to the academy,
And an academy
and
concept.
academy concept.
Okay.
We were tasked with making that happen, that was also put so the committees get refreshed that they are tasked with making that happen.
Okay. Well, I think it'd be great if that could be shared with the board, like typed up, whatever. And then, just through life, when you do something like this, you have what I would call required category and then desired.
Yeah, we got that too.
Okay, so I think it would be appropriate to share that with the board, because I think what happened last time is the desired, it seems like it just started to overtake the project, and we ended up, where we ended up.
We're still developing that piece, that's not memorialized on the board, that is a work in progress, and some of the committees will weigh in on that, but.
Well, for the desired piece, but I think required, I mean, we know, as I understand it, we need a new roof, we know we need new mechanicals, we know we need some space for the ninth graders, so I mean, there's some minimums you can almost rattle off. I think it would be important that we make sure that as we design this, that we achieve those requirements, and so that we spend the dollars wisely and come out of this that we've met our required objectives. We may not get to some of the desired, whatever those may be. So if it's windows in a courtyard, well, that would be nice, and you can look out or go out and eat outside, but I don't know if I put that in the required category as an example. So I think that would just help all of us stay on point
You must
with
have been hanging out with Paul, he just flogged me this afternoon about windows.
what we're trying to achieve. The other thing that struck me in the presentation is the concept of the ninth grade center, or ninth grade academy. So I recall probably about a year ago, and this was under previous administration, there was some discussion back looking at, these concepts and where we might go. There was talk of doing a ninth grade academy. And the feeling at that time was, well, we don't want to do that, because ninth graders associate with 10th graders and 8th graders, and, so why house them in a certain area? So I'd be curious if that thinking has changed, and then when you look at it, how much of their time are they really going to be in the center? Because if they're going to art, that's obviously another whole nother section. Cafeteria, a whole nother section. Library, a whole nother section. Gym, a whole nother section. So when you look at it, they might have 4 classes in the academy. So I'm not quite sure where that developed from. So that's kind of new, at least to me. So.
You're looking at it currently an 8-period day, math, science, English, and social studies, and the majority, a good portion of those students that have taken a world language, 5 of those 8 periods would take place in that ninth grade academy, the majority of the students. And then the other 3, with the exception of lunch, obviously will have to come down to the cafeteria, which in pretty close proximity. The other 3 periods they would spend in the other portions of the building. If you take a look at the sight lines, if it's in the business section, it's that new blue section. If it would be in the technology section or the SCS, it's just straight down that hallway there. If it would be in the music or arts section, you hang left beyond the business, and it'd be in that section building. So they really, with the exception of the library cafeteria, would not have to travel up into that top section of the building over to the east entrance side of it, so they're even staying on this side of the building too, so try to compact that.
Would this cut down the flow through the banana hallway? Because I understand right now it's quite a congested area on any given day. So that cut, because I think the other piece to look at is the whole flow, and some of that's dictated by scheduling, of course.
Right.
But it's a little tough to widen hallways at this point. That's, I just hope we're looking at that too, is the
No, I think
efficiencies.
ultimately, we're comfortable, I mean, if you started from scratch in a cornfield, you'd do it differently. But honestly, I think the amount of people that have to use, first of all, we get the administration out of there, so that it doesn't force anybody dealing with the administrators to be down in that hallway. And I think that's a big deal. Ryan, put back the real front, please. It confuses people right now. And what we're saying is, we're gonna take the center of gravity. Right now, if you follow signage and you do what you're supposed to do, they force everybody that's visiting to go down that hall. We're gonna come up with a new front, not a new front, we'll keep the front we got. We're gonna break through, and there we go. We're gonna break through and take that, we relocated that classroom by reshuffling the utilization. So now, we're not pushing anybody in and around here, we're pushing them in the middle. And we see the center of gravity of the school, kind of right there, I mean, there it is. If we push the center of gravity there and make this cross corridor meaningful, and even a really big charge to the bus, we should be unloading that, it should be helpful. And I think what was pointed out is kind of good. A ninth grader isn't locked in a little corner, but he also has a spot, he or she has a home too, so it's kind of a nice blend.
Yeah, and I'm not saying.
It's a different philosophy, and I guess
Right,
you
I
could
guess
say.
I'm just saying it's kind of a change from
Yeah.
what we had heard for months in the previous.
With the previous design, the ninth graders were housed in the center, innermost core of the structure.
They were kind of out
the
in
H,
here.
the centermost structure of the H here. So basically, what this concept does is takes them from there and places them in that ninth grade academy, utilizing the old building while still having access to those related studies areas on those three or four periods of taking a world language that they need to, and the flow to the cafeteria or the library when they need to utilize those spaces for free time. And with 4 lunch periods, access using that banana hall, you're not having 600 kids go down there at one time. You've got 4 periods, and you're splitting them.
Right. So
And
it's
also,
less
they're
is
going
the
out to
congestion.
related studies courses, it's on a staggered basis, based on where it falls in your schedule.
You brought up a good point. If we started in a cornfield today, it would look different. But I
It
think,
wouldn't look as much different, I'm pleased about how far we were able to
well, and
come.
I guess that's my point is, obviously, we can't, I mean, we want to work within the budget, so we can't like just totally make it like we would if we were building new. However, some of those concepts, we can hopefully come close to achieving. And it sounds like you're doing something.
We tried to do as much as we could. We tried to really pull that as much as we could, so we kind of used to be.
One of the comments that I wanted to make is that in addition to the 4 things that we've identified, collaborative space, enhanced safety, ninth graders to the high school, and the academy concept, I also want to make sure we connect that to our comprehensive strategic plan. And the goals that we have identified in that comprehensive strategic plan, the 21st century skill development. In this design, those small group instruction areas, those common learning areas, that's all part of the 21st century skill development concept, as well as the design in connecting to that comprehensive strategic plan with that academy concept. Because both of those are in our comprehensive strategic plan as goals, as the vision for the district moving forward.
Ruth didn't get her shot.
Well,
Are you done?
I may have more, but go ahead.
No, go right ahead. I waited this long.
Well, the only other question I had is, when I look at the piece with the library, it's the second to the last slide. It shows a lot of the classrooms, so I see business, I see math, chemistry, physics, biology.
They may still have some of the old names on them yet. I apologize for that, because again, we're still shuffling them. Ultimatarial stuff, business will ultimately end up down here.
I don't see English, or maybe I'm missing it.
Now, you won't see it ever again delineated.
Language arts.
Right, there'll be language arts, but again, we're gonna mix them, I believe, deliberately. There's a lot of rationale behind that. You should never see in the future a block of rooms together with the same name. We're gonna be deliberately as part of this academy. If you can't physically get them in separately, you can at least get that interaction and by mixing the classrooms. We're gonna have the right number of classrooms, and we're gonna be able to assign them, but the names, again, we grabbed it, we have to show it, we're gonna clean up the nomenclature by the time you see it on November 12th. The idea is a classroom should be more collegiate, and they should be mixed, not in the department of them all in a group. Other than science, it's just not economical to spread it out. You get a pretty good start with even science, and some of the others. The STEM guys kind of have special stuff, they're up there, you know.
Well, and the only reason I ask, I would think, I'm not a teacher obviously, but I would think when you look at the library and proximity, someone in language arts is more likely to use the library than, say, mathematics.
Old school,
Really?
old school.
Wow.
Tell him.
I'm getting old.
Tell him. It's a different world.
We have social studies that has a heavy use of that.
Well, I would think they would be like the second or right up there.
Orila has a heavy usage of it, or language. Of the core content, yes, math would have the minimum utilization of it, but
Right.
If there's other cool content or in there, signs.
And I'm assuming, I'm thinking we're involving the teachers in this design since they're the ones living it.
Yeah, they'll have to be involved in this design. I mean, that's the whole intent once we, and I think when we talk about the design team's role and responsibility of what it was compared to what it is now, the shift of more along the lines of what you were saying before with what's desired versus what we can make work with what we have.
And to get, so there's truth in advertising, the teacher input so far has been what they had given us prior, what they gave the other architects prior. Our goal was how much can we initiate that was already carefully thought out for a year and implement. We haven't had an opportunity to actually get one meeting with them, and we'll have our next one next Wednesday, so I don't want to leave any misconceptions. This is actually the outgrowth of all the stuff they were telling the other architect and how much we can implement it in a new container, if you will. So we got their input through all this, you ought to see this stuff, I mean, this copious stuff that went on, and we're using it, but to be fair, we have to get them involved in the details. But it probably won't happen that much between now and November 12th, because the idea between now and November 12th is identify what you can buy for $55 million, find out how big it is, how much is addition, how much is reno, and get some of the concepts. Once we got that, then we're into what, how do you really lay out a music suite? What's it really gotta have? What really happens in the art suite? How do these teachers share academy concept in these classrooms? That can be worked out after November 12th when we have an idea of what we're doing. So we're not ignoring people, but there's only so many hours in the day. We are tasked between now and then, which is what, 7 weeks? Scope and cost. That's kind of what all our thinking is. Then we'll get into designing the pieces, if you will. There's Mr. Cost, by the way. He's waiting to pop up. Ruth has got to get her shot.
If we done? Two things.
Questions.
Pardon me?
You took all your comments.
Oh, no. No, I asked the important one. Traffic. Did we get the response on that, Joe, the traffic study?
The traffic study was given to my civil engineer. I don't get a big kick. Actually, I was surprised. It actually had some pretty insightful data in it, meaning good data. It was given to my civil engineer. We will be using that when we talk to the Borough of Cobbletown, when we talk to Boyertown Borough, Township of Cobbletown, and PennDOT. I don't know how far we'll get between now and November 12th, because some
So
of those.
we'll do that before we plan on putting a road through.
We have to.
Well, I just want to make sure.
The traffic counts that were done assumed that road would go through, and what would be the implications with traffic.
The
and
other
they're all
question I
approved.
have is if that gets approved by PennDOT, et cetera, bear in mind that there is an elementary school there. I don't want
Yeah,
that
it's
to
right next
cut our,
door.
I don't want that to cut our chances of later on, if we want to add to there, for the state or somebody to say to us, you can't put another bus on that road.
I
You follow what I'm saying?
I do indeed.
And I
Actually,
just wanted to be sure that was considered or talked about or checked.
And we'll make sure we have it, but honestly, when I look at it, I don't get a big kick out of reading it, but I glanced at it.
Okay.
The Montgomery Avenue is lightly enough traveled, it doesn't appear to be an issue. We'll put it down,
mean,
somebody's
have you
taking it.
There's a couple businesses coming out on that road, they're all around the same amount of time. The other thing, if we're gonna put that road in there, and it's gonna be our road, we have to maintain it, et cetera, and it's an exit for the buses, why would we make it two-way?
I think there's a time in a place when there might be a need in a football game or some other time when you want to bring traffic in deliberately. We don't have to, it just, why not?
I'm
If
just
we had the
thinking of the kids
flexibility.
using it for thoroughfare.
Well, that would be a reason not to necessarily do that. The idea that we were been talking about is gated, other than those dismissal and admission times, so that you would not, when students are out there, you wouldn't use it.
One of the other questions is, you said we're adding 21,000 additional square feet. I don't know what the average size of our classrooms are, so could you tell me about how many classrooms we're adding
We are,
or anticipating?
actually, that's in our next agenda for next week with the committee, is to put together a spreadsheet.
I'm not gonna hold you, but about how many classrooms would that be?
We're adding enough classrooms to hold 600 more students. I don't, honestly, I'll give you, we're gonna make an Excel spreadsheet, because we have to vet it with Dr. Cooper and the rest of the people, because we
The
gotta make
21,000
sure it works.
square feet all full of additional.
But the 21,000 square feet is like shaking sand in a bag. We free spaces that exist by moving stuff around. One of those one of those spaces that got put in here was to make up for the classroom we took out at the front door to go make a front door. So it's hard to give you a one-on-one. There's a shuffling of things that are going on.
Then the ninth grade center, I was surprised to hear that, because I thought we were doing the academy. I didn't know we turned it into, why would we bring the ninth grade here if we didn't want to integrate them with the rest of the population? I thought that was the reason the academy concept was supposed to be being used.
They do integrate.
They are being integrated. It's just
And
their
they're all
core-
gonna be
their
in one
core is
section of
gonna
the
be-
school, how are they integrated with the other kids?
They're
they
integrated
wanna
when they're in their related studies courses. Their core content classes will be in their academy. Their related studies courses,
Oh wait, in their academy,
they're
in the ninth grade
academy.
center?
Ninth grade academy,
But they'll all be all ninth graders in there.
correct.
But I thought we were gonna have those, I'm getting confused of what you're doing now, because I thought they were all gonna be spread out in the academies with all the grades.
In the initial, the old plan,
I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing about this
in
ninth
the
grade
old plan,
center.
they would have been in the center of the building, located in the center of the building, in their own academy-type setting, at the corners, in the innermost corner of each academy. Now we're taking that and putting it in, utilizing the existing structure, 1919 construction.
Okay, September come and gone, did we get the $2 million from Harrisburg, the need certification? Anybody know?
It does not appear that we did. We had, they had their meeting on September 20th. We got the results of who they announced as the winners or the grantees for the money. We were not on that list. But we have not gotten a denial either. So we have to check with ECD.
So we could maybe reapply?
We could, but as Jay alluded to, we are looking at the lead certification to see if it's going to fit within the $55 million budget that we've been given, so.
Okay,
Anything else?
oh, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
John, one more.
Yes.
I didn't hear anything on parking. I know in the past throughout the project, one of the core items is parking, which is already kind of a problem.
I think what has come up, they, in the former scheme, were just about taking this whole lot out of circulation. We are not. We are going to be actually almost the same parking that was on there when EI had the project, the previous architect. It's funny, you want to be lead. Lead actually asked you to do less parking. It's fun, that's one of their criteria. If you want lead certification, they're looking for you to use fewer spaces. So, get the green thing. To answer your question, we are blessed in that, you'll never get enough parking. I get it, the football games and the baseball games and all that, and you'll live with that. We aren't inheriting drivers, we're getting ninth graders, so we're getting teachers. We feel as though we can handle the parking. It's not going to be significantly more that's there, but enough to handle those extra. There's some reworking of the parking. This road, if it goes through, messes up the parking by Bear Stadium, and that's got to be reworked. So at the end of the day, we feel as though we'll have better traffic flow, adequate parking, but not significantly more than you have now.
But what I'm hearing you say is we will have some more parking.
Slightly more is where we were headed. It wasn't much. Again, we haven't talked to, Colbrookdale says you're going to put in more. Hey, guess what? We're going to put in more. But I think ultimately, we were trying in a way, I think an awful lot of your parking costs in the previous scheme were relocating spaces that were bumped because of the building conditions. Once you get outside that sidewalk, it impacted that parking, it impacted parking, it impacted that, it impacted parking out here. That was, I think, the major, there was a breakthrough here to go across. I think we can accomplish what everybody wants to do with less money, more organization, and you're never gonna have enough parking on a high school site, I guarantee it, but I think ultimately most days you
Ruth?
On a lot of these, plans you gave us have trees.
Yeah.
Is that something that, no, I just wonder if it's something that has to be, because with trees come work, comes cost, comes.
All architects like Ryan like to stuff trees on our drawings.
Yeah, I know.
We have not had that discussion. Some places there is a minimal amount of trees that have to happen. I understand trees require maintenance. Most of my school guys are not overly fond of trees, so you will only have.
Well, not just that, they break through the sidewalks, they break through the.
Yeah, there's issues. I think they are ideas. What you're looking at is a booklet of
I
concepts.
just want clarification.
That's fine.
Thank
These
you.
guys are taking notes. John doesn't like to buy trees anyway, see that? We can save a couple bucks. We're thrilled.
Have one more. Dawn has a question?
Has there been any discussion around the athletic fields?
We haven't, and I can guarantee you in this project, it's gonna have to be an add-on. If you wanna do it, it's acceptable, that's a great idea. It's not gonna happen within that $55 million budget.
Just wanted to know what you were talking about.
Right. I don't think we've had a lot of discussion. Nobody green-lighted us to say how far they want to go that way. That's probably a decision comes from your side of the table. Think about that and let us know in November when we're back. Well, we'll be back before that, but when that big decision. It's certainly worth a master plan. If we think we're going to do it someday, maybe we want to get it approved by the Cobrookdale Township people. Right now, we're going to break through the road, rework the parking as necessary by Bear Stadium that we're doing. And we're going to do kind of along. Well, we would love to.
Any other questions? I have an inquiry.
Inquiry.
You were talking about getting rid of the courtyard in the original building.
Yeah, a really bang-up idea of turning it into a great big atrium. It was wonderful.
That would give you classrooms with no outside light.
Well, no, we were gonna put a acrylic top on it, which is kind of Space City technology. And Dewey said, no, you're not. We said, okay.
Went into the desires
That went into the desire column and got shot. We would never give you a courtyard without lighting. If you wanna see one of these, it's really fantastic. Montgomery County Community College has one.
Okay,
It's an atrium with all the
I'm
lighting.
just curious, you know, I wondered how students would react in a room that had no,
Not well.
yeah.
No, not well at all.
That's why I was asking about
Daylight is
that.
so key, but it didn't happen, you don't have to worry, it's all problem solved.
Okay, and next item here, I noticed a lot of our questions tonight were compared to the previous firm. But they gave us a project that was unaffordable, and we didn't want it. So I would not look favorable of putting it in just because they did it.
No.
Okay.
It just turns out that, let's be fair, not every decision that was made in the last year was bad either.
No, I know that.
We took the attitude, never saw the project before, and when stuff started to shake out, there's 2 or 3 things that just fell in a good spot, and we agreed. We did not do it because it was done already.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Now we have Arif Brazil. He's going to update us on the limited budget numbers that he's tried to put
The
together.
good news is my presentation is short.
Ouch.
You want to look for that slide? Actually, you
One
won't
slide.
find it. I don't have the slide. We want to be very careful. As you can see, the plans are constantly changing, lines are changing, things are moving. The desires columns got so big, I actually threw it outside and put it in the bag and tied it up. We have too many desires. We don't have enough budget for it. We're working very diligently. I can tell you, we have done an excellent job of rehoning the scope into what is needed for the priorities that have been established by the board, by the superintendent. And Dr. Cooper has worked very, very well to try to make sure we're capitalizing on all the classroom spaces and minimizing the scope. Everyone from Paul, even as of today, we're constantly hitting each other about costs. Every line that's going on the paper, every decision that's being made is being questioned with a cost-value decision, affordability decision process. It's constantly happening. And so I'm not prepared today to give you a budget as to where we stand. I can tell you we stand under 60 million right now, and we're working towards that goal. Will we get exactly to the number you want it to be at. Again, these are estimates, so we'll get very close to it. We'll come to you with some options, and we'll come to you with something that I think is within the range of where you want it to be, and you will ultimately have the final decision to either send us back for some minor modifications, if that's where we're at, or, you know, tell us to go ahead with the options that are being presented. So I think that's sort of where we are today. I think there's a couple of things we just wanted to clarify, and if I may, Dave, could I ask that question?
Sure, yeah, we had a project meeting this afternoon, and we reinforced what's included in the 55 million. And, you know, we said everything that's gonna have something to do with the actual building itself, you know, the construction. So the first question was, do we have to deal with a $54 million budget now because we paid EI Associates $1 million? And we said, no. We're gonna try to recoup that money, but we are still looking at a $55 million project, and that's what we want you to deal with. The other thing that we talked about was the cost of the financing. Has nothing really to do with the actual bricks and mortar of this project, so we threw that cost out also. So that, the financing cost will not be included in the scope of 55 million. But everything else that has to do with professional services, furniture and fixtures, you know, those kind of things. Permits, correct. And everything that has something to do with the actual building itself is included in that 55 million.
So that helps us a lot, because that's one of the clarifications we need, because we're trying to be very diligent. We want to come to you with a methodical analysis and have some support for each of the items. Now, understand, we're at a concept budget stage. So we're going to come to you, we're going to have the numbers, we'll show you how the numbers were developed, as we did previously. I think our previous presentation was fairly clear. It may not have been well received, but it was clear. So that's what we.
Words.
I
I like that choice of words.
Yeah. So we'll come to you with that, and we plan to give you a bit of an update, a better update than not telling you anything. In 2 weeks, I think, is the date that we plan to come to you with some initial information, and then obviously we've got a deadline that's moving. So that's all I'm going to tell you, because the first number out, no matter how many lines you change, no matter how many athletic fields you put on, no matter what you decide as a board or whoever makes that decision, you'll still remember that number. So I'm not ready to give you that number. I'm sorry.
Steve, you have a question?
Yes, just to clarify, Dave, you said anything to do with construction of the building, I'm assuming that means soft costs? Or no?
Yes, all soft costs, those are considered soft costs. We just wanted clarification, because the two things that Mrs. Zablowski mentioned are soft costs, like the previous fee is a soft cost. So, you know, that would automatically put us in the hole.
Right, well, I understand that, but there were, as we've gone through this project, there's a term,
Yes,
bricks and mortar, and then there's soft costs, so
Yeah.
other than previous.
they're all in.
But they're still applicable just to the building. It's the professional design fees, the construction management, the permits, the.
Furniture,
Right.
furniture and equipment.
And then what are we projecting for contingency in the event there's overages?
We had that
whatever,
discussion today, and we're
asbestos,
collaboratively as a
remediation,
team, we're
whatever.
challenging each other. I would like the contingency to be higher. The budget doesn't let you get too much higher than what we have right now. I can tell you right now, we're trying to keep $2 million as a contingency.
In a
That's what we're
normal
trying to
construction
keep.
project, the contingency would be twice that.
So, but, you know, we've been given this restriction, and we've been given the requirements, and we're working within that. So we're gonna try very hard to keep it to that 2 million, but would we like it, you know, so again, those are decisions that when we come to you, I think the board can make that decision and say, well, maybe we should have a little more contingency, maybe we should have a little bit less, but you're gonna make that decision. The information will be there for you. I'm hoping to be the other way, but we will have that discussion.
Thank you.
Anything? Yes, Ruth?
The thing, I think that, they said that the 1.2 million we already lost, we're not counting that, but we're gonna have a lot of legal fees on that too.
Correct, so that will not be
So,
counted.
I know, but we have to remember, we're gonna have to pay that too.
Anything else?
Nope.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. One more issue we might need Jay's input on. I included a copy of a letter we received from Jay last week. It has to do with the Plan Con eligibility of the other projects that we submitted for last October. And Jay's recommendation, after talking to Mr. Vogel in Harrisburg, is that we, as the board and the school district, actually have an action item to vote to send a letter to Harrisburg saying that we do plan to continue with the other three projects. And he feels that that will continue us for another year period.
It doesn't obligate you, but Jim was feeling it might help him. Nobody knows, it's new turf. In the past, if you hadn't whacked it on a project in 12 months, it often got chucked out of the queue. If your projects get chucked out of the queue, they can't go back in anymore, it's a moratorium. That was all. I was looking for a way to preserve them, and maybe you will or maybe you won't do them, but at least you have them preserved, we think.
So our intent was to have the board take action next Tuesday to authorize administration to send a letter to the PD Plan Con Department that we would, our intent is to continue with all four projects as of this point.
Will that be one letter or one?
I think it would be wiser to have separate letters because they go in separate files. And was it four? There's only three in the queue. This one's automatically
Oh, this
covered.
one's, okay, so it would only be the three others.
It's the three that no action had occurred on it.
Makes sense.
Any questions on that?
It's a guess, by the way, no promises made, but I asked the guy at the top, what are you gonna do? And he's like, no idea, let's try this. So he's trying to be helpful.
Okay.
So that will be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes. All right, and the next time, real quick, we wanted to update the committee on, we're starting the budget process, which we'll get in a little bit more detail on the finance committee meeting, but part of our budget process is to meet with each of the buildings. And when we meet with the buildings, we meet with the principals, but we also meet either with the head custodian or the principal with the head custodian and Paul Grenowald's input as to what the building needs are. We are going to, our plan is to expand the scope of the capital projects. Now, you've seen the capital projects listing before. There are going to be more long-term items on that list. One of the items that is going to be addressed is entrances to buildings. Another item that's going to be on is long-term mechanical, electrical and plumbing increases, but basically focused on climate control, HVAC at all the buildings. So there'll be more lines, and the bottom line will probably be a little bit larger, but we want to put a long-term plan in so that this committee, this board, the next board will know exactly what it's going to take to get our buildings up to speed, because they're going to be needing work in a short period of time. And these would not be Plan Con reimbursable, but we're not looking at major overhauls, we're just looking at just upgrading the HVAC projects.
Question, yes.
Well, I guess a comment and a question. So the comment is, I think that's very prudent to have that, because we do have a plan. We have a list of capital projects, but to your point, Dave, I think that's spot on to really plan it out. My question is, when you say long-term, just to get an idea, you're talking 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, or what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, you know, to say, we've had several meetings about building entrances and renovating, you know, how people enter the buildings. And, you know, we have developed I think it's a 4-year plan. You know, junior high east is fine, Culverdale's been addressed. We're doing senior high and junior high west in Plan Con. So that would leave basically 6 buildings. We would propose to do 2 a year for the next 3 years. Obviously, HVAC is going to be a bit more expensive than that, so we're going to have to put that out a little bit farther. And it's going to be depending on how much we can you know, squirrel away in our capital projects fund, or if we, depending on how the board would like to you know, approach that, is maybe just do float another bond just to say we want to get this done and get the funding right away. Because if we wait for the money to come in, it may be a project that we never get to.
When do you anticipate having this plan or the board?
Well, we usually come to you with the capital projects update after our building meetings, which happen in October. Facilities and transportation are usually one of our budget items that we talk about in January, or maybe the first meeting of February.
Any other questions or comments? Fix anything?
Yes.
Okay, next one is committee comments. You had your chance, have any more? On anything else?
Well,
Yes.
So, and maybe this is for Dave. So I know one of the questions has been out there, and I think it was addressed early on the 55 million, and I think we have finance folks coming at the next meeting tonight. What would be the anticipated tax increase?
Okay, well, they are here, they're gonna be talking at the finance committee meeting, but they will not be talking about new money. We're gonna be talking about the advanced refunding of a 2005 bond. But just to reiterate what we had talked about previously, we are looking at a debt schedule that shows we are significantly dropping off in our debt in the next 4 to 5 years, and then 5 to 6 to 10 years, it really drops down even further. So what we're going to be doing is looking at wraparound debt, and the plan is that each of the next 3 budget years, we will be increasing the tax millage by 1/10 of a mil, which on a $100,000 house means that's a $10 increase. And that is going to get our budgeted gross debt service up to the level of $6 million, which will suffice for the next 30 years to pay for all the debt that we are going to incur for these next 4 projects under the wrapper rate. So if you look at $10 this year, $10 July of 14, $10 July of 15, that's basically a $30 increase on a $100,000 house. And if we look at the bond period of 28 to 30 years, you're looking at just about $900 per $100,000 house. Obviously, if you live in a house that's assessed at 200,000, it's twice that.
Doubles. Just you're talking the average average house value in the district.
Right. Our average house value is about 115,000.
Any other comments? Public comment period number 2. No one. Okay, announcements. October the 8th is going to be a curriculum committee meeting at this center right here at 6 o'clock. October the 8th, Board of Directors meeting here in this building at 7 o'clock. And October 15th, there's still a finance committee at this building at 6:30.
Now, you see, we don't have a facilities meeting scheduled for that night. Do you think we're going to need one?
Yes. Yes.
So is everybody okay with adding a facilities meeting that same night?
What
On the
night is
15th.
What, did you change the times? Did you make it
6 and
6
7.
and 7 then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the 15th, Dave?
Correct.
And the committee will be at 6, right?
Facility will be at the normal 6 o'clock, and then the finance meeting will start at 7. And we'll get that re-advertised.
Okay, need a motion to